Welcome to the channel, and in this video, I'll be going over my collection of the two Amazing Spider-Man movies. Sony released a lot of editions for these movies, and despite me being lukewarm on the first film and just straight up hating the second one, I have quite a few, so let's just get into this video. First up is this Target exclusive Blu-ray that came with a bonus disc, and on it is a 20-minute featurette of the filmmakers discussing their reasons for rebooting the character and what makes this iteration different from the Raimi films. I rewatched both films for this video because it's been 10 plus years since I've seen them. I've always liked Garfield as Spider-Man, and I think he looks the part, despite him being a grown-ass man playing a high schooler. He was actually older than Tobey was when he was disguised as a high school student. The director Mark Webb wanted to make Peter more of an outsider than a nerd, so we get that sweet skate montage, which might be the worst fucking edited skate montage in any Hollywood film I've ever seen. Also, what was up with that terrible song choice, like Coldplay, really? Nobody would ever skate to a melodramatic Coldplay song. I just could not stand watching that scene, but his stunt double did have a nice tray flip, so I'll give him that. The Blu-ray comes with a 90-minute making of documentary, and it's pretty informative. It chronicles the entire production. When the producers were talking about why they settled on Mark Webb, it was because of his previous film 500 Days of Summer, which is a good movie. But no one ever mentions that his name had anything to do with it. Like, come on, like the dude's name is Mark Webb, and he's directing a Spider-Man movie. Like, no one even jokingly mentions that, which I thought was kind of weird, but whatever. Webb also directed a few My Chemical Romance videos back in the day, like Helena and Ghost of You. And I just wanted to throw that tidbit in there. I also have this Walmart exclusive of the first movie. I was on a bit of a Spider-Man kick after No Way Home, and I bought the rest of these editions that you'll see. This release also came with a bonus disc, and it has a 20-minute featurette all about the Lizard. The one question I wanted to know is why didn't the Lizard wear any pants? I understand not giving him his trademark purple pants, but he has a lab coat in a couple scenes before he tears it off each time. And the reason why he doesn't have a snout is because they wanted to keep some of his humanity and still have some of Rhys Ifans' facial features and not just be a straight-up monster, which I get, and I do like Rhys in the role. I've always liked him as an actor since I saw him in films like Little Nicky and The Replacements. The filmmakers also mentioned multiple times that one of the themes of this film is overcoming loss, and that Peter is overcoming the loss of his parents, and Connors is overcoming the loss of his arm. So I guess good on the filmmakers for making that realization. That Walmart exclusive wasn't enough, so I actually triple dipped on this movie. I bought this limited edition set that came with a 3D Blu-ray along with two figurines of Spider-Man and the Lizard. I don't remember if I saw this in 3D. Someday I hope I'll have 3D capabilities because I've never watched a 3D Blu-ray. I have quite a few of them, and that format died out here in the States around 2017 when 4K became the premier format. The 3D Blu-ray has exclusive features. One of them has Mark Webb going over scenes and how they achieved the 3D effect. These figurines are pretty cool and have great detail. They don't feel like some cheap trinket that looks good in a package but isn't worth the added value. Spidey is in one of his classic poses. I don't mind this suit actually. The yellow lenses from the sunglasses he used for his eyes are a little odd in retrospect, since Spider-Man has always had white eyes on the mask. The Lizard is pretty imposing and he's in all his glory. I don't love this design and I wish they went more comic book accurate. My first experience with that character was probably the same for most people my age, was the animated series, and he was just a really cool looking character. If he had a big snout and wore a lab coat and purple pants, that would make this a 5-star movie and would make up for that horrendous skateboard sequence. I also had the video game tie-in for this movie. It's not on the same level as Spider-Man 2, but its mechanics are pretty sound, and web slinging is simple and easy to learn, and the combat is very akin to the Arkham games, but just lacks the depth of those games. The game acts as a sequel to the movie, but it's clearly not canon once you see the next movie, since the Rhino appears in this game, and it isn't a cartoonish Paul Giamatti. They also ported the game over to the PS Vita. It came out a year after the movie, but it's a really good port of the console game. One of my favorite things to do in the game was to swing around the city and find all the collectible comics, which would unlock seminal Spider-Man comics for you to read. Most of them are first appearances of characters that appear in the game. I wish we got more superhero games on the PS Vita, but Sony totally botched that handheld. I still love it though, and continue to bring it with me on trips to this day. Next is Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I didn't own this movie until I saw No Way Home, where that movie just gave me a newfound appreciation for Garfield Spider-Man. I hadn't watched this movie since the theater because I just found it egregiously awful. So I finally rewatched the film, and it's still pretty bad.
What?
The producers Avi Arad and Matt Tolmach clearly put the universe before the story, because the whole intent of this film just feels like a setup for future films. The narrative is unfocused, and there wasn't a compelling story for me at least. Peter and Gwen break up and get back together like fucking 4 times in this movie, and every scene with them just made me want to puke. I'm also dead inside, so I could care less about this starry-eyed couple and just their artificial banter that just makes them a cute couple, I guess, for us to watch. I didn't mind Jamie Foxx's Electro this time around, even though he does give off Dr. Manhattan vibes with his look and how he teleports. Dane DeHaan's storyline feels pretty rushed. Instead of him progressively turning into the Green Goblin, he just says fuck it after he fails to acquire Spider-Man's magic blood to cure his goblin disease, and then proceeds to just go full goblin. Just so I don't completely shit on this movie, I'll mention a few things that I liked. One being when 35-year-old Peter Parker graduates high school, he's wearing the Mark Gonzalez Thrasher t-shirt. The Gons is one of the most influential skaters in all of skateboarding, and he just has one of the best styles. I just wanted to mention that. Oh, and another positive is there's no terrible skate montage in this movie. I also like seeing the ghost of Dennis Leary pop up throughout the film. I just couldn't help but laugh whenever he showed up because he would just have resting bitch face. A lot of the action is pretty solid, and the suit was redesigned and it looks a bit better too. And that's all I can really think of for positives. I bought this Blu-ray because it was a Target exclusive that came with a bonus disc, and on it is a 20-minute featurette all about the Sinister Six, which was heavily teased at the end of this movie, but obviously that never came to fruition. The first half of this feature has Steven Seifel, a Spider-Man historian, talking about the Sinister Six's inception and the many different iterations of the team, as well as the different stories over the years that featured them. The second half was all about the filmmaker's goals when it came to building out this universe and getting to that eventual film where we would get Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six, which we are still waiting to get. I also had the game for this movie. It's more of the same when it comes to gameplay, but they did bring back those comic book collectibles, so I remember collecting all of those again. No PS Vita port this time around, and I think this was the last Spidey game till the PS4 video game came out. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on this series and whether you own these movies too despite not loving them. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a movie time.
Stop, get off, man!